Two nerds who have no luck with women decide to create the perfect girl so they can do whatever they want with her. The film opens with the scene of two nerdy teenagers, Gary and Wyatt. As they are gazing at the girls doing athletics, they fantasize about them. At some point, Wyatt came back to reality by telling Gary that no girl loved them. In the meantime, some guys approached from behind and pulled down their shorts. After that, the two walked away embarrassed. Later, the two friends find themselves at Wyatt's house. His parents have entrusted him with the house until they return from a trip. While they are watching a movie, Gary gets a brilliant idea. Since they don't have the guts to meet a girl, they decide to create one. Wyatt is very skeptical about this, but Gary manages to convince him to use his powerful computer to create the perfect girl. So they start creating the girl, feeding in centerfolds and magazine covers, measurements, and parameters. Then, for additional brains, they tap into a giant government computer. In the process, with bras on their heads, lightning strikes. Disasters start to take place inside the house and the city. Out of the mix of bytes and kilowatt steps, a perfect woman pops up with full, luscious lips, a throaty English accent. After showering together, Lisa suggests going out in the city. They were dressed in suits without any sense of style, and after leaving the room, their suits changed immediately. Then it turns out it's all thanks to Lisa. She is able to magically provide some great clothes and a car for them, and they head off to a blues club. As soon as they enter the club, Gary revealed to her that they weren't 21 yet, and Lisa gave them fake IDs. Initially shy, once they had a few shots of Blind Dog bourbon, they get along quite well with the club patrons and other much older people. Gary drinks too much, and Wyatt along with Lisa takes him home. It turns out that Wyatt's older brother Chet has come to stay with him while their parents will be away. Chet is a stern and obnoxious guy with a military school bearing. After offering Chet a bribe to leave him alone, Wyatt brings drunken Gary into the room. Then, Wyatt, still awake, goes outside to find Lisa. She approaches him from behind and starts kissing him intensely. Gary and Wyatt wake up the next day, thinking it was all a dream. Then Gary notices that Wyatt was wearing Lisa's underwear. In the process, Lisa calls them to have breakfast. It turns out that Wyatt was going to lose his virginity the night before, but he fell asleep. Then Chet walks into the kitchen and eats Wyatt's breakfast. He notices Lisa's panties, but doesn't care, as long as Wyatt pays him to not tell his parents anything. The next day, Lisa takes the two of them shopping. While they pick out a perfume for her, Lisa buys some sexy panties to impress them. While they are waiting for her, Ian and Max, two cool guys, spill tomato juice on them. Then, as they were leaving, the two noticed Lisa and couldn't take their eyes off her. Lisa returned the look, and the two started following her. They talked to her awkwardly, and then, surprisingly, Gary and Wyatt arrive in a black Porsche. When it becomes clear that they are with Lisa, the popular dudes are stunned. Lisa announces that she wants to have a party, which worries Wyatt since he has strict parents. Lisa doesn't just throw a party, but insists on meeting Gary's parents. Her parents notice that Lisa is much older than Gary, but it gets worse when they learn that Gary is invited to a party. Lisa openly says that there will be alcohol, drugs, girls, and many other things, and at this point, the parents are completely against it. Gary's father tries to kick Lisa out, but she won't budge, so he decides to call the police. At that instant, Lisa pulls out a gun, and so Gary leaves for the party. In the car, Lisa shows him that it was only a water gun. Despite this, Gary is sad, because now his parents will be even stricter with him. But he doesn't know yet that Lisa has erased the episode that just happened from their heads. Later, the party starts, and hundreds of teenagers show up at the door of Wyatt's house ready to go wild. Not being used to parties, Gary and Wyatt hide in the bathroom. Let's say Wyatt has a stomach problem, and Gary supports him. Thanks to Lisa's magic, the other girls are attracted to them, so Gary and Wyatt meet two girls in the bathroom. We are taken to a restaurant where Wyatt's grandparents are having dinner, and they have the wonderful idea to pay him a visit. Back at the party, the popular guys ask the two main characters to trade their girlfriends for Lisa, but Gary and Wyatt refuse. Instead, they show them how they created Lisa, and after wearing bras on their heads, they set about creating a girl for them. Lisa realizes something is wrong and sets out to find them. After a series of anomalies, out the door where a new girl should have come out, we see Lisa. It didn't work, because they forgot to create the little figure, so a rocket came out of the floor. Soon after, Wyatt's grandparents arrive, and are shocked by the mess inside the house. Lisa greets them warmly and freezes them. Wyatt is speechless at the sight of them, and Gary takes him into the bathroom to help him recover. Lisa realizes that Gary and Wyatt have low self-esteem and decides to help them boost it. She magically calls bikers into the house, who start to scare everyone. The armed bikers start taunting Gary and Wyatt about the weird things they used to do. Lisa carefully guides the events, so that the normally shy teens are forced to appear tough and in charge under pressure. In fact, the bikers target Deb and Hilly, so that our protagonist can defend them. In an instant, the two become much more confident, and with a gun, manage to chase off the intruders. Then Deb and Hilly end up making out with Gary and Wyatt, and things are looking up. The next morning, Chet arrived home after the hunt. He noticed that the house was destroyed and his room snowed in. He set out to find Wyatt and found Deb with Gary in a bed. He finds Gary's room locked and shoots the lock. Chet immediately asked for explanations, and Wyatt promised that Lisa would tell him everything. In the kitchen, Chet found his grandparents frozen in the closet. Lisa told Gary and Wyatt to take the girls home while she will take care of Chet. Gary goes over the speed limit in his Ferrari, and the police begin to follow him, but then end up losing them. Wyatt took Hilly home and kissed her exactly as Lisa taught him. Back to Gary, he started to reveal to Deb that the Ferrari, the clothes did not belong to him. Nevertheless, the girl said that she loved him anyway. While things are going great for them, Chet is turned into a little monster by Lisa. She will turn him into a human being if he apologizes to Wyatt. Gary and Wyatt return home. Now that they have girlfriends, they decide to think about what to do with Lisa. The girl is sad that they won't see each other again, but at the end of the day, she planned to help Gary and Wyatt find girlfriends. After an emotional moment, Lisa vanishes into the smoke. As Wyatt's parents return Sunday afternoon, Lisa magically repairs the damage from the party and changes Chet back. In the final scenes, Lisa is still among humans at Gary and Wyatt's school. Click here to find out why demons have come to Earth to drink the blood of a virgin.